I guess because I own and run the art of skateboarding, a lot of people over the years have asked me what boards I collect, what my collection looks like. So recently, I unpacked everything just to take a few pictures for some other stuff. And I figured while I have everything out, I would give you guys a little tour of my collection. I think at last count, it was about 130 boards that I've kept. So in no particular order, we'll just go around. See, start things off. Got the Dream Girl. Always loved this graphic. I was big into anime in the 90s, like just about everybody else. I still do enjoy them. This is the 10th year anniversary model. And this one is an OG. That's the original. Got lucky to pick one of those up. Another good one from that era. This is the set for Rockin' Jelly Bean. I like Rockin' Jelly Bean's art a lot, so when Rockin' Jelly Bean did the collaboration or artwork with Santa Cruz, I wanted to pick up the whole set. Now this one's an odd one. I got this in a bundle of decks. I have no idea what it is. There's no top logo. I've never found any information. Kind of reminds me of like a Heavy Metal magazine or the movie kind of graphic, but if you have any information, please share it, because I don't know what it is. It's the Los Angeles deck. I liked a few of their series. You'll see a few more. This was a Shove It deck with scratch-off panties and bra, which I thought was kind of an interesting concept. Picked one of those up. It's a pro model for Ben Gilly on Black Label. Ben Gilly's a good friend of mine, so I picked up quite a few of his decks. This is a World Industries deck. It was a limited edition. Not much information about it. Picked that one up a while back. Mike V. Really liked that whole series. I like that graphic the best, so I grabbed that one. The good old Reese Simpson. This was a great deck back in the day. Great shape. Very similar to the Chris Miller Dog deck. Knew a lot of folks that wrote it. It's a good deck. Bar series. This is about as far as I've gotten so far on collecting the whole series, and I keep trying. I don't know if I'll ever finish it. Every time I check, they're pretty expensive now if you can find them at all. And of course, they've reissued the entire series, but I would prefer to have the original ones. Picked up the Playboy Anniversary deck. No particular reason, just because it was fairly cheap at the time and figured it'd be good for the collection. This is a Faith shop deck. Faith is our local skate shop here, and a friend of mine did the artwork. I just really liked it and kept one of the decks. Conspiracy deck, always liked their art. A friend of mine rides for them also. Kept this one. I think it was a gift from him, actually. This board, quite a few people know what this is. If you do know, then you know how hard it is to get one. So thank you, Mr. Claver. Picked up the Tony Hawk guest model for Crooked, again just because. These are some FA decks. I like the thing they were doing with the lenticular graphic, so I picked up two of those. I don't have a lot of blind decks in my collection, haven't been that big of a fan, but this particular one I grabbed just because I thought it was funny. I don't know if you can read what it says there in the graphic. But I won't give it away. It's another Ben Gilly deck. Actually, I think this was his first one on Black Label, if I remember right, but I might be wrong on that. But had to pick up another Gilly deck. This is the Blacklight deck, and yes, it has the velvet, still in the shrink. It's a good deck. Quite a few people had those. I think this guy's pretty popular with most everybody, especially collectors. Picked up two of these, one to ride, one to give away at one of our contests or whatnot. But I never did put it together, so still have two. This one I forgot I had in my collection, but I'm glad I do. This is a really nice deck, and it's actually from the Red Cross with the C days, if you know what that means. Another Grosso that's nice. This one I also did not know I still had in my collection until I unboxed everything. See, it's Ray Barbie signature, and actually Has the card from George Powell still in it. It's a nice deck. Glad I held on to that one. The Steve Olson Outlook board. I got a couple of Outlooks you'll see in the collection. A friend of mine at the time rode for them, and I got about 2 or 3, I think, from him. A couple of Dave Allen boards, death skateboards. Rode with Dave a lot when he lived over in Atlanta. Skated vert with him quite a bit. Good friend of mine. When he was moving from Atlanta back to England, he was trying to unload some of his stuff. Asked if I would want the boards, and of course I took those. I think everybody knows this deck. OG Douglas. Always liked the Schmidt Sticks decks. There's the Lance Mountain Black Label. I think everybody knows the story behind this deck when Lance was switching companies. And John Lucero was really hoping he was going to come ride for his company. So I think this is possibly the only guest model that was supposed to be a pro model. But yeah, I just checked a bit ago on Lance Mountain's own site, and there were only 50 of these made, so I'm pretty lucky I do have one. Now we come to my Santa Cruz decks, which... really glad I got these. Again, I got these all as a set. Made a deal with someone. Actually, a legend in skateboarding, was trying to get rid of them. Needed some money at the time. The only one I did not hold on to is a black original Panther, Nodus Panther, which another good friend of mine has in their collection now, and they do deserve it for all they've done for skateboarding, so I don't mind losing that one. But if you're asking or wondering, these are not reissues. Still in the shrink. Still in the shrink. Shark tail. And this Nodus, still in the shrink, and it's a black top. So, pretty nice one there. And my Chris Millers. Always been a big fan of Chris Miller. Probably up there as my favorite skater of all time. This particular deck is one of my favorites in my collection. I don't know if you can tell in the video, but it's got this kind of translucent green paint. I haven't seen another one like that or in that condition, so glad I picked that one up. And then I have that one as well. Some longboards. I'm not a longboarder. Picked these up back when I first started collecting just as decoration for the house. So they set up at like the top of my landing for my stairs. But I did like the graphics. Just something else in the collection. The good old Tommy Hawks. Everybody has Tommy Hawks in their collection, or should. Actually, this Tony Hawk, I believe, was my second or third real skateboard. That's my rider, and that was the first board I ever skated vert or dropped in on vert with. So, of course, I had to hold on to that one. And then later I was able to pick this one up. Still in the shrink. Don't even know it's the 7. Okay. And this one, funny story with this one. I actually had a friend of mine that was a manager at Hooters, so I gave him this deck when it came out, which he hung on his wall and enjoyed. He thought it was kind of funny. Not a skater, so when he left the job and he was moving away, he actually gave me that deck back because he didn't want to move it, so it returned to my collection. Reissue board somebody sent to me, actually with a couple of hand boards that came with those at the time, or that you could get at the time. This was another one of my riders. It's a Colvin censored. Actually, it was handed down to me from someone else, a friend of mine that didn't like it when they got it, so then I took it and skated it. That was my street board for a while, back when we had street boards and ramp boards. Jason Lee Dodo. It's pretty well worn. That's my rider as well. This was just a blank deck that we had at the skate shop at the time when I was working there, and we got hit with a big snow, which is kind of rare in our area. So I took it and made it into a snowboard, which was a good idea, but didn't work out very well. Probably one of my favorite boards of all time. It's up there as one of my favorite boards I skated. This is my original rider, Andy Howell Pyramid. I probably went through 2 or 3 of these. Just really like the shape, like the board. Of course, like Schmidt. as I said before, so held on to that one thankfully. This was my first real skateboard that I got. I'll explain that a little later too, but I bought this on a family vacation down in Fort Walton at a shop called Beach Plus that's actually still around today. Pal Ripper. I had no idea at the time what shapes were all about or dimensions or sizes, so like most kids I just bought it because I liked the graphic. Chris Miller, Planet Earth, another one of my riders. Probably one of my favorite up there decks for skate and vert at the time. We didn't think the concave was that drastic, but as you can see, if you look at the middle, how it's worn, it did have a pretty deep concave to it at the time, which you don't see as much of that anymore. Just a great deck all around. Moving on. So this is the, I think it was my maybe board right after that Tony Hawk. Got the Lucero Schmidt sticks. Love this board. Skated it on just about everything till it met its end in a tragic launch ramp accident that happened quite a bit back then. Always trying to find another one of the same stain and same colorway as far as the graphic goes. That's kind of the pink purplish Joker character. And then that's the Lucero Red Cross. You'll see a few more of these Luceros later, but this was my rider as well. It's a red stain with the black and white Red Cross logo. No, I was not a fan of Body Glove or Gotcha. But at the time, we all liked getting anything skate related, stickers and whatnot. So a bunch of us would go to our local little store that carried Gotcha, Body Glove, bathing suits that had the stickers on them, and we would take them to the dressing room and procure the stickers and return the clothing to the racks. So yeah, that's where a lot of those came from back in the day. Still trying to find that one in mint. I have some in my collection, but not that one. This is probably one of my best finds in my collection. Found this on eBay for, I want to say $250, maybe $300. I got really lucky on that back, way back before collecting got really huge, maybe 2001, 2002. You can tell it's like the story you hear of the kid that gets it for Christmas, skates it a few times, and then it goes into a basement, because this thing is almost untouched, all plastics. It's got these Powell Bones 3s wheels, which I've never heard of, and they're really chunky and soft, so I'm guessing they might be roller skate wheels. See the old Schmidt stick graphic, the original. Just nice deck. Glad I got that one. I don't know if I'll be getting rid of it anytime soon. The Mariano Schiffer deck. That was a great deck. Wish I still had one or had one mint. This is the Summon a Guy Blinders deck. Seen better days. All my riders I held on to over the years. I don't know why. My parents were always on me about why was I keeping those? Why would I keep that trash around the house? Just throw it away. There's no need for it. But all these years later, I'm very thankful I kept those. This was I think an Acme deck. It was a slick bottom, and the slick started to peel a little bit. So I don't know if it was the same around the country, but here at least, when the slick started to peel, some of us would just peel the whole thing off and then just ride the board as a blank. Another Beach Plus board. This was a Beach Plus blank from about, I would say, early 90s, mid 90s. We started buying a lot of blanks from there. I think this is one of the first because they actually put their logo on there. Later they just sold them completely as blanks. Jimmy the Greek Black Label board. I love this board. I went through probably 2 or 3 of them. Just great shape, great board. Just had a good time skating it. These are 2 blanks from the late 90s when blanks were getting really big and the industry was losing their minds over how blanks were just ruining the industry. You can remember that and look at us now. This is another Faith shop deck. Faith kind of broken glass style logo. I think I talked to Peter the other day at the shop. I think this was around the time that Jamie Thomas was putting out kind of a similar thing on Zero. Jamie Thomas is, of course, from our state, so he and Peter know each other really well. They do a lot of collaborations and such, so I think that's where that idea came from. Over here is this little guy. Was my first real skateboard. I think my parents gave it to me for Christmas when I was 7 or so. But it was pretty much just a butt board. We had a really steep driveway and steep hills in my neighborhood, so I would just ride down it on my butt. I don't even remember if I ever stood up on it and actually skated it like that. I was more into bikes at the time and jumping stuff and playing like I was Chips with my neighborhood friends. So didn't really use it a lot, probably from the time I was 7 till 9 maybe, and then it went to the garage, but my parents held on to it. I have it now, so I'm thankful for that. This little guy, I was a teenager, and one of the girls that would ride to school with me knew I was into skateboarding, and this was her dad's. They were going to get rid of it, so she just gave it to me one day. Can't really skate it, or shouldn't skate it. It would break, I think, pretty easily. But it's nice to have in the collection. Kind of, again, something to decorate the house with or make a nice paperweight. So moving on. Name that deck. It's a Gons fish car. That was one of my street decks, my own rider. Nice deck. Wish I had a mint one. This is a mini ripper, or grip saw. What's left of this one is a Giovanni Turner Chiquita banana deck. I actually have pictures of me skating that deck, but as you can see, it didn't last very long. Dave Allen decks, some more fairly recent ones. I kept a couple, always keep some to, like I say, I give away at contests we do, or sometimes put together myself. I probably rode 2 or 3 of those. Really good deck, like the dimensions. Dave's shape's really good because he always has like an 8.5 width with a 15-inch wheelbase, which I love on about anything I ride on. Works out well. Now we have a bunch of Acme decks. You'll see a whole lot. I have a lot of Acmes. Just a few here. Sign your own pro model. This was actually my rider back in the day. Put the little shrunk head Zorlet on the little guy. Really love this shape. Love this deck. At the time, I think I was riding the Howl 8-Ball Kid deck, which is one of my favorite decks of all time. So when that board changed, I think Andy changed models, changed shape. I was looking for something similar, and about that time is when Jim Gray came out with Acme, and this model was one of the very first ones. It's very similar to the 8-Ball Kid, even with the logo being upside down, and very similar, little kid with flames. So I really like that deck a lot. Like I said, that was my actual rider. Nice to have both. Whole bunch of Acmes. Got these as package deals. I want to say I got 5 for like $50 each, and then picked up the other ones for fairly cheap as well. Channel 1, Formula 1 decks. Always reminded me, I don't know what reason, always seemed like those were Acme decks, but they're not. This was one of my riders, Acme Slick. This one, this is an oddball Acme. It's actually shaped. Talking with Jim about this a little bit. It most likely was somebody got really creative in the wood shop. Just took one of the boards before they were cut and shaped it out themselves. So just an interesting piece, but not a production piece. We got the Sundancer. This was given to me by one of my older friends that skates. I never rode it. That was well before my time, but it's nice to have that in the collection. And I appreciate him giving it to me. We got a couple of McGills. I think everybody should have a McGill in their collection. I love that graphic. Always liked the skull and snake more than the skull and sword. So to me, it's just a better graphic. And this particular one is the black snakeskin on a black board, which seems to be pretty popular among folks. I'm not sure why. You probably know who this guy is. Hard to come by deck there. Got another Powell. Another one of the Lost Angels decks, Kurt Cobain. Got this Ripper. I picked it up off of eBay, I think for 150 bucks. It's used. But I wanted to replace, if you saw my earlier board that was my first board was the Ripper, same color, same pig shape. I thought I was getting the same thing. Sent some pictures of this to Cliver, and he was really interested in it, wanted to see some detail in it. And I'll show you why. As he pointed out, if you look, that's actually bonite. But this is not marked as a bonite board, and it's a pig shape. So Cliver was speculating that this might have been an early prototype or an early test of bonite before Powell actually started using it. So might have a really nice deck there. Coop, love the Coop art. Got this deck. This is from 1999, I believe. Still in the wrap. As you can see, 42 of 500. Okay, nice little deck I picked up here. It's the Jane Mansfield deck. And I know somebody's going to ask, is it a classic? Is it one of those fake knockoffs that they just put the graphic onto whatever deck? So, it's an original. Top logo and everything. It's a nice one there. Hold on to that one. Got the Carl Shipman. This was on eBay. Nobody was paying attention to it or didn't seem to want it. I like the graphic, so I just picked it up. Got a good deal on that one. Same with the Javante Turner. Just like that little bar scene. Good graphic. Picked this one up, still in the wrap. Still in the box, unopened. Tony Hawk Gold deck, collector's deck. Actually, I think it was given to me as a gift from a friend on Christmas, if I remember right. Gator deck. I think everybody has a Gator in their collection, whether they'll admit it or not. They did have good decks, good graphics. My Alvas. Picked these up when I first started collecting. They were super cheap back then. I want to say like $60 a deck, maybe. Supposedly there were just stacks and stacks of these things on pallets, and the folks who had them were just trying to unload them. Of course, some of them are seconds that are out there. You'll see those, but still really nice and clean. Always like this little punk size Fred Smith with the burn away graphic around the edge. Some nice decks. This one is actually my first quote-unquote skateboard. When I really got into skateboarding when I was 15. Neighborhood kid gave it to me. This is actually a Nash Executioner that I obviously repainted myself and tried to get all clever and make my own little Walker Nightmare type shape. But it immediately broke on a launch ramp pretty much as soon as I shaped it and painted it and was all ready to go. Took it out and it broke immediately, which I think was probably a blessing in disguise, because that's when I picked up that Powell Ripper deck that really started me off. This is some guy named Ray that is somehow affiliated with Shipyard Skates. We love you, Ray. That's a Ray Fantasy Pro model. I just love the graphic. Ray's a good dude. Another Outlook board, the Gelfin. Moving on. Got some Luceros here. Told you I was a Lucero fan, always have been. Just like the way he skates, thinks outside the box. He and Neil Blender, I think most people enjoy those two. And, well, those two and a couple of more that look like them. So we got the Racing Stripe. That's the 1990, 1989, 1989. You could tell they were different. 1989, they had the Santa Cruz logos on the tail by the back truck. And then 1990, it switched over. I think you can see that. To Lucero Limited. I actually rode a couple of these white ones back in the day, so that's the first one that I wanted to pick back up when I was collecting them. Got the street thing, the fifth wheel, and the Red Cross. And yes, like the Santa Cruz decks, they're in the shrink originals. Even the fifth Beetle. 12XU, another popular one. I think I rode one of those. That was about the time I think I was switching over to the Howl decks. Got the reissue. This one, I'm not sure when this one was, because they've done it a couple of times now. Got the Jeff Dalton pool model, shape model, and popsicle. It's a Florida legend. Great skater, great dude. I know him, good friend. So I had to get those decks and get him to sign them for me. It's a local company, Southern Supreme. Some more Dave Allen boards. The Medusas. Another, again, just love that shape, love the dimensions. Got the Robbie Collins deck. Robbie Collins is another Georgia legend, a good friend of mine. Absolutely rips everything he skates, even to this day. It's like he hasn't missed a beat since we were teenagers. And we got the Joe Lopes Memorial deck. Had to pick one of those up. Oop. Got the Soy. That's the Red Cross with a K. Nice little deck. This one was a deck painted by one of the local artists here. He does it every year for the contest we have, and they're given to the person that gets voted by some panel that says that, you know, they give it to whoever's done the most for the skate scene that year. And somehow I got it that year, back in 2009, so I really appreciate that. And this is my rider. Like I said, I really love the Howl decks. So this is my 8-ball kid that I rode back in the day. I probably went through maybe 2 or 3 of these decks. Always, like the other one you saw, I like to put the shrunken head over the little kid's face for whatever reason, just being goofy. But yeah, I really love that deck. Which brings us to the pride and joy of my collection. And that's a minty Howl 8-ball kid. Really nice deck. And this one is my pride and joy. So like I said, I really liked Howl. I rode all the decks back in the day. Skated with him a few times in Atlanta. Followed his artwork, his graffiti, his H-bomb. We go there taking flicks of all the graffiti and stuff. Just really, I guess, a fan as well as knowing him back then. So when I started collecting, I wanted to go back and pick up especially my Howl decks, because those were the ones I had the best memories of back in the day. So this particular one, some people know the story, but I got really lucky on this board. I was searching on eBay. I don't remember what I was searching for, something random, and stumbled on this completely by chance. They had listed it, I believe, as Hip Hop Skrate, S-K-R-A-T-E board, B-O-R-E-D. And that was well before they had any kind of smart search on eBay or anything like that. So it had to be a direct hit or you weren't going to find it, which I got lucky and I don't remember how I found it, but nobody bid on it. And I picked it up for, I think I paid, I won't tell you because you would probably not believe me. So yeah, that's it. That's my collection. I hope you enjoyed the tour. Now I get the fun of boxing all this stuff back up. Thanks.